Hey there, Shortcuts. This is Stephen here with video 2 for the Shortcuts price list that will go out this week on Wednesday, July 16th at 9 p.m. Sydney time sharp. If you would like to be on the price list, drop me an email, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. This is the classic rock list, and man oh man, does this feature some classic rock. You've been warned. All right, here we go. Wow. I have not been able to talk about this record for a while. This is the Japanese first press from 19, whatever it is, it's 79 of Pink Floyd's The Wall, the 11th album in their incredibly storied career. This is an album that I've been on a bit of a journey with for about 30 years. When I first heard this album, I was in university, and I was sharing a house with some guys. There was 6 of us, and one of the guys loved this record and put it on, and I remember having a quite visceral reaction, just thinking, I can't take this record. It is too much. It's too angry, it's too cynical, it's too brittle, it's too much. I just can't do it. And that feeling stayed with me for literally decades. I only went back to this record, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, and probably only in depth in the last 6 months. It is not a record that has meant much to me. I still do find it glacial, and it freezes me out. But of course, that's the point. It's just taken me 50 years to realize it. This record is meant to make you feel uncomfortable. It is meant to stir things up in you. And that is the reason Roger Waters did what he did. This record is a rumbling, tumbling kind of representation of a mind in anguish, or in this case, a country in anguish, or maybe an ethos in anguish. I mean, everything about it is about creating tension and then ratcheting it in such a way that the releases only come sporadically. And maybe those tensions are also symbiotic with the tensions within the band, the kind of classic Gilmour, Waters, Wright, Mason lineup. The last time they were all together, even though a lot of people still think this sounds more like a Roger Waters solo record. I don't. You know, you've got Comfortably Numb. You've got these songs that are just Dave Gilmour just all over it. So it has something more, but it is also an incredibly challenging record, which is part of the reason, the wonder of it, because it's so cohesive and so daring in places, yet it absolutely churns me up. Now, about 6 or 8 weeks ago, I listened to disc 1, excuse me, and I had a moment where I realized, particularly on disc 1, that there was not a second that was out of place. That this thing was Steely Dan in a way that I hadn't realized. And of course, its position in the rock canon is unshakable. So who gives an SH1T what I think about it? But it is absolutely sneaking up on me in a way that I would not have considered. This Japanese first press, I think, is one of the reasons I started this little journey with Shortcuts. It was one of the first records that I got, and I still remember the power that I felt in hearing how good that vinyl was. I would still say that I would need to think about it very carefully, but If I was making my list of the 5 greatest Japanese presses I have in my collection, I think it would be in the top 5, and it would probably be in the running for number 1. I think it's even better than what I described as the kickoff in video 1, which is Steely Dan Asia. I think it's magnificent. And if you love The Wall, or even if you're still like me on your journey with The Wall, I cannot recommend this Japanese first press enough. It is a magnificent sounding beast of a record. And there's a few to come that fall into that category. But man, what an absolute stunning thing they did with this. I had a UK first press. I think this Japanese one absolutely clears the bar. It's really something. Now, I know a lot of you love this record. This is the first time I've ever had this record Japanese press. This is the Japanese first press of Brothers in Arms. I know. Now, here it is. It is 28pp 1005. The Japanese first press of Brothers in Arms. An album that, like The Wall, has staked its place in history, but in many ways has staked its place in history for its digital history. It, of course, being, for so many people, the first CD they ever bought. But it's so much more than that. I mean, Dire Straits, fronted by that kind of dry-voiced guitar virtuoso Mark Knopfler, were on an absolute surge. I've got 2 more of their records to come, by the way. Not Japanese, but records that I think you will like. I've got, this list is kind of half Japanese, and then later I've got a whole bunch of different presses. So, of course, this record kick-started CDs, but it also kick-started MTV. And made this unassuming band from England maybe the biggest rock band on the planet. Going to see Dire Straits live in the 80s was like an event. And so I remember my mum raving about it. Everyone loved them. And this record became so ubiquitous. I don't know how many it's sold now. I do, in my research before talking to this list, I did not know that it won the best engineered album and the best album at the 1986 Grammys. But of course that makes total sense. And I did not know that really stormy guitar intro to Brothers in Arms, the song, was improvised by Knopfler while he was waiting for his bassist to fix a broken guitar string. And well done, those engineers who captured that sound so perfectly. Okay, let's move on to one of my favorite albums of the 70s. This is On the Beach by Neil Young. This is the Japanese first press of On the Beach. The middle record in the legendary Ditch trilogy, recorded by Neil Young in the mid-70s when he was on a spiral of disillusionment and sorrow through losing his best friend through drugs and maybe some other things as well. The Dutch trilogy being Time Fades Away, On the Beach, and Tonight's the Night. All of those albums marked by grief, disillusionment, and dissonance. This record, though, in particular, is one of his most personal. I mean, it was barely promoted. Initially, absolutely slaughtered by the music aficionados, but I think it has completely transformed its reputation at this point. 50 odd years later, it is now in the pantheon of his greatest albums and certainly his most honest albums. the first side is spectacularly accessible. You know, walk on, almost like the perfect country rock song. See the Sky About to Rain, such a beautiful sad song. For the Turnstiles. Now, this Japanese vinyl is so good that you can so clearly hear that airplane flying over at about the 45-second mark. It is, once you hear it, you can't unhear it, but it makes the track so much more alive. But then second side is where it kind of opens the wounds. Ambulance blues, revolution blues. These are difficult songs to wrangle with, but man, are they something. And so, yeah, absolutely secured his legend with records like On the Beach, and absolutely love this Japanese press on Reprise Records. To a certain extent, I'm about to pivot from the utterly sublime to the patently ridiculous. I'm about to showcase a band that I can't even really believe I'm doing this, but this turned up in the box, and it turns out it's a serious rarity, and I mean a serious rarity. Like, many of you will never have seen this or heard of it. I cannot believe I'm about to do this, but I am. This is the second record from the Floridian new metal outfit Limp Bizkit. This is Significant Other. This is the first press, American first press from 1999. Parental advisory necessary, and having listened to disc 1, that is a fair message. This band emerged from that morass of kind of new metal, punk, metal, and rap, and they kind of fused that into a hardcore sound that just became mega, especially in the US. I was reading this record, they reckon this record alone in the US sold something like 15 million copies, which is amazing for such a brutal band. Oh my God. So again, this is MTV age. This is full on MTV age. This is the turntable scratches of Nookie, the aggression of break stuff. Man, that song is ferocious. DJ Lethal doing his thing. I do think Wes Borland on guitar is pretty talented, but I mean that guy on front, that guy up front, Fred Durst. Oh, I just do not understand it. Let me show you a bit more of what's in here. It's in really nice condition. It's super rare. There's the inner. I don't know. It's an absolutely mystifying record to me. But there it is. Limp Bizkit's Significant Other. If any of you are a fan, please try and explain it to me. Mixed by Brendan O'Brien. So that's partly why it's pretty, I mean, I was surprised at how good it sounded on the player. Brendan O'Brien, of course, worked with Pearl Jam amongst others. But there it is. Significant Other by Limp Bizkit. I've put together a little bundle for this next thing that I think is really nice. This is Led Zeppelin 4, so you can see the classic Led Zeppelin 4 with Obi. But in here, I have the single of... I'm just going to show you how this works. It's a beautiful little thing. There's the little sleeve, like the mini Led Zeppelin 4 with the 4 symbols. And that's the back side. But side 1 is Black Dog, and side 2 is Misty Mountain Hop. Now, the notes that I've been sent with this particular record is that single has never been played, and it has never been taken out the sleeve, and I'm not going to do it. So whoever buys this can do that. This is the P10125A pressing, which is my personal favorite pressing. I think it's absolutely stunning. I think it's as good as this record has ever or will ever sound. And you've got a beautiful single, and you've got the Obi and everything else. Look at that. Shortcuts doing its thing. I'm just going to insert this quickly into the mix just because before I got one more Japanese record to go. This is the picture disc of Led Zeppelin 3. It was released, I think, in Spain or Italy. I'm not quite sure. I'm going to guess that just because of the language of the song. Instead of immigrant song, we've got Canción del Emigrante. It's a beautiful thing. The Led Zeppelin 3 picture disc. That's unusual as well for me. I think that might be maybe one of the first picture discs I've ever had. Led Zeppelin 3. All right, let's finish off the Japanese list, then we'll get on to some Aussie records. This is the Japanese first press of NXS's breakthrough from let me see, what year was it? 1985. This was the record produced by Chris Thomas, who produced the Sex Pistols and Roxy Music and many more. This is when that fusion of new wave rock and kind of funk became more radio friendly, and boom, What You Need just went around the world. Top 5 in the US it went, which is, pretty cool. All right, I am going to spend a little bit more time talking about this record. This one because it's a record I really like. It is Pussycats by Harry Nilsson and John Lennon. This is the Japanese 1974. The Obi's falling off. This is the 74 gatefold, and it's got lyric sheets and all sorts in there. What's interesting, there's another record from 74, the year of my birth. Seems to be a lot of those over the last little while. Harry Nilsson, mercurial American songwriter, incredible singer back in the day. But this record was made when his voice was really kind of falling apart. And so it was produced by John Lennon during what became known as his infamous Lost Weekend exile, when he basically went on a bender that went on for a really long time. And this record came out of that bender, and it is suitably ragged, rowdy, and really quite poignant. And it's the snapshot of two, at the time, kind of musical misfits finding a way to help each other and to draw each other back from the brink. Harry Nilsson's vocal cords were damaged. John Lennon was basically soaked in drink for the entire process. Chaos reigned, yet somehow they made a great record. And I don't know how they did it. It's really just surreal and weird and reverb dominated, and it's got just these most harrowing renditions of songs that you might recognize. It's layered with this kind of punchy sound, almost Phil Spector-esque. If you didn't know any better, you might even guess it was him. Really very, very deeply fascinating and brilliant album. I think it's the first time I've ever had this on the list as well. So that is John Lennon and Harry Nilsson creating the masterful Pussycats. It's a record that's not for everyone, but for those of you who get it, I'm with you. Okay, I now have a collection of really nice Aussie records that I had for the Paddington Fair that are left over, and some of them are great, and so I thought I would just do a quick run through because many of you will know what these are. This is Sabbath Fall 4, Black Sabbath. This is the Aussie first press, and it's a really nice copy on the Vertigo swirl. And you know I don't say things are nice if they're not true, and it really is. And it's pretty hard to find a record where the vinyl is as nice as this one. Vol 4, I think Aussie first press, I have to say 1972. There's the gatefold. If you don't have a copy of this record, you could do a lot worse. All right, I mentioned that there were a couple of other Dire Straits records. This is Dire Straits Making Movies from 1980. The Aussie first press in really nice condition. This is when the band moved from kind of pub rock to being really quite cinematic storyteller. This is Tunnel of Love and Romeo and Juliet and all those kind of classics, emotionally rich and big. And the follow-up is this record, which I think is kind of underrated in the Dire Straits canon. It is Love Over Gold. Again, this is another very fine record, 1982. Probably their most expansive, and of course dominated by, you know, the 14-minute epic that is Telegraph Road. Almost reminds me of kind of Bruce Springsteen, this kind of record. Very dynamic, probably the most morose and serious that Dire Straits ever were, but it's good. I've always liked Dire Straits, I know. Anyway, this is, alongside Tears for Fears, Seeds of Love, the best sounding Aussie pressing I've heard. It is the Aussie first press with gatefold of the mighty Stop Making Sense by Talking Heads. Fantastic record, 1984. They were a band that always valued kind of in certain things concept over chaos. This is the live album companion to the movie made by Jonathan Demme, which was re-released a little while ago for its 50th anniversary. And I watched it for my birthday present, which was amazing. It has so much going for it. And when I hear this, firstly, it doesn't feel like an Aussie record. It's thick and the sleeve is nice. The inner is properly quality. I have to think that someone somewhere just upped the ante on the quality of this record because it sounds wonderful. And the Take Me to the River edited version on this record is stellar. Absolutely stellar. All right, I have this, which is an Italian press of Blues for Allah by the Grateful Dead. Now, this is from 1975, and I am by no means a Grateful Dead aficionado, but this is a record they released and made after a hiatus from touring, which, you know, this is a band that infamously toured for 50 years. But they did make this record, which is kind of fused with psychedelic rock, with some Middle Eastern textures, and it's really odd and interesting. I also have the Aussie first press of The Unforgettable Fire by U2. This is a record that vies with Achtung Baby as my personal favourite U2 album. I think it's a really deep record, sort of Homecoming, Bad, Wire, Pride in the Name of Love. It's just one of those touchstone 80s records. It's kind of U2 really finding themselves, and it's produced by Steve Lillywhite. It's got that fantastic kind of Edgian guitar. It really sounded like a massive jump from War. I mean, the leap that U2 made from War to Unforgettable Fire is... They never made a leap as big as that. Arguably, Rattlin' Hum to Achtung Baby is in the mix as well. Anyway, you get what I mean. I also have Edelman Smile from 1986 by Dave Lee Roth. He assembled a supergroup, Steve Vai, Billy Sheehan, Greg Bissonette, and they just made a rockin' record. This is another rockin' classic. This is Pump by Aerosmith. I mean, You just have to go through the singles. Love in an Elevator, Jamie's Got a Gun, What It Takes, all massive, massive hits. And I think, I don't know, did Pump save Aerosmith? It probably did. They got a lot of mileage out of it. And then finally, I have Ziggy Marley's One Bright Day, produced, by the way, linking back to Talking Heads and Stop Making Sense, produced by Chris France and Tina Weymouth, who are the amazing rhythm section from the Talking Heads. This is a really lovely, kind of warm, bubbly record. Modern reggae is not everyone's scene, but this is really beautiful. And vinyl copies of this are quite hard to find, and this is in fantastic condition. There you have it. We have a list that goes from The Wall to Ziggy Marley, which is, that sounds about right, doesn't it? Please leave me a message, tell me this video was worth your while. And if you would like to be on the price list, drop me an email, shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. As always, the list will go out 9 p.m. this Wednesday, the 16th of July, Sydney time. Thank you. Bye.